You're listening to the Christian Post Daily Podcast. Today is Thursday, July 23rd. A striking new study finds that nearly half of Generation Z Americans say Christian support for President Donald Trump makes them less likely to attend church. The Billy Graham Center Research Institute surveyed over 2,300 adults ages 18 to 28, finding 48% agreed with the statement that Christian support of Trump has driven them away from church. Rick Richardson, professor of evangelism at Wheaton College and the study's lead researcher, said, "Spiritual interest among Gen Z young adults is quite high, but engagement with churches has decreased over time." He pointed to political partisanship as a key demotivator, adding that trust and authenticity are all important to this generation. Richardson emphasized that young adults aren't looking for churches to agree with them on every issue, but want pastors to be deeply honest and direct. He noted these young adults represent both the present and the future of the church. Cultivation Church, a multi-campus Assemblies of God congregation in Louisiana, revealed to its congregation on Sunday that the lead pastor's wife, Christina Donnelly, had engaged in a 2-year adulterous affair with a married staff member, Chris Audibert. According to a 3-page statement posted by church elders, Christina admitted the relationship to her husband, Pastor Matt Donnelly, on July 14th. Both Donnelly and Audibert's wife, Pastor Mara Audibert, were placed on 3 months of paid leave, which elders emphasized is not disciplinary. The elders acknowledged the congregation's pain, stating, "Trust has been broken and many questions remain unanswered. We will not minimize the seriousness of what has occurred." The revelation also reopened questions about a previous 2022 relationship Christina had with a female church member, which current leadership only recently learned about. A wave of outrage erupted this week after Fox News host Lisa Kennedy Montgomery vulgarly attacked Christian journalist Megan Basham. The clash began when Basham, a Daily Wire reporter, criticized Fox News contributor Guy Benson after he announced he and his husband had welcomed a baby girl through surrogacy. Basham wrote, "There is nothing conservative about deliberately creating motherless children." Kennedy fired back on X, "Bless your heart, Megan. While you're at it, go replace the batteries in your vibrator." The response drew fierce backlash from conservatives and Christians. Federalist editor John Daniel Davidson said, "What a pack of creepy weirdos they have over at Fox News." Attorney Jenna Ellis noted Kennedy had officiated Benson's wedding, calling her comment disgusting, while evangelist Justin Peters said, "When people have no intelligent rebuttal, they turn to low-browed gutter language." Church leaders in South Carolina have resigned and are facing criminal charges after authorities discovered a convicted sex offender was allowed to volunteer at a church with an affiliated school and daycare on site. Georgetown County Sheriff Carter Weaver announced that Pawleys Island Community Church pastor Don Williams, his wife Ginny, and Pawleys Island Christian Academy director Nikki Howard were charged with obstruction of justice and criminal conspiracy after Warren Perry, a convicted sex offender, volunteered as a custodian at the academy despite probation terms barring him from being near children. Weaver said church officials claimed measures were in place to keep Perry away from children, but that statement was simply not true, accusing all four of colluding to knowingly and willfully placing our children in harm's way. A $25 million class action lawsuit and a second lawsuit alleging Perry sexually abused a child have been filed. Israel's complex relationship with Christians is drawing renewed scrutiny amid international campaigns and criticism from prominent media personalities. The Jerusalem Center for Applied Policy, or JCAP, recently hosted a policy briefing addressing what it called one of the most consequential and frequently misunderstood issues affecting Israel's international standing. According to the organization, Christian communities across the Middle East face mounting pressure, pointing to developments in Syria and Egypt, as well as conditions under the Palestinian Authority in places like Bethlehem and Beit Jala. Notably, Israel remains home to one of the region's few growing Christian populations. As JCAP put it, Israel stands apart as a place where that population is not just protected, but growing. The discussion comes as figures like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens have weighed in on Israel's treatment of Christians. A Wyoming pastor is facing backlash and protests after condemning a sacred Native American ceremony during a recent sermon. Sarah Lucas, who co-founded the Foundations for Nations Church with her husband Jason on the Wind River Reservation, called the Northern Arapaho tribe's Sundance ritual idol worship in a July 5th sermon. "Jesus is the chain breaker. He is the only God that we should be praying to. A pipe cannot hear your prayers. It's just a piece of material," Lucas declared, adding that the Lord is saying tear down the idols. Actor Christian Wasana, a Cheyenne Arapaho, criticized her, saying, "It feels like history repeating itself." Northern Arapaho tribal leaders have now asked the church to leave, though Lucas refuses, saying she won't apologize for preaching the gospel, but is sorry her words came off as an attack. Academy Award-nominated screenwriter Randall Wallace says that when he pitched Mel Gibson on making a sequel to The Passion of the Christ, the director gave him an unexpected warning: Satan's going to come after you. Wallace, who spoke on Raymond Arroyo's Arroyo Grande podcast, recalled first raising the idea while the two promoted 2016's Hacksaw Ridge, telling Gibson, "The story that you really need to tell is the resurrection." Gibson responded that any film can't be for the money, and it can't be to get back at people that have hated us. Wallace, Gibson, and Gibson's brother Donald collaborated on The Resurrection of the Christ, now split into two parts, with the first arriving in theaters May 6, 2027. Actor Jaakko Otonen replaces Jim Caviezel as Jesus. Thank you for listening to the Christian Post Daily Podcast. We encourage you to follow the show in your podcast player of choice, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or third-party podcast players like Overcast and Pocket Casts. You can also download the Edifi app for free and listen to all the podcasts on the Edifi network by clicking the link in today's podcast show notes. We would also appreciate a 5-star rating in Apple Podcasts and Spotify to help us reach a wider audience with the Christian Post Daily Podcast. You can also subscribe to our daily newsletter and get the top headlines delivered to your inbox by clicking that link in the show notes as well. Thank you again for listening to the Christian Post Daily Podcast.